welcome to the Real CP Show. I'm your host, CP. And today's topic, Violence Against Women Act. But violenceness against men by the numbers of violent women and some other type of abusiveness, non-physical by various types of women, by the way. Well, feminists love their hypocrisy. Yes, yes. See, there are so many organizations, however, politicalness, however, other entities. Unfortunately, even some various types of naive type males, the one this applies to, are against protections against or protections for domestic abuse victim males by domestic abuse assaulter women. Yes, yes. And the system loves this. And again, definitely feminists love it. And definitely the Sisterhood of Chaos membership and some other women love it too. Yes. As you see on this image, he deserved it. Right? This feminist woman kicks the guy off the cliff. He must have did something, right? Giggle, giggle. Right? Now, if you reverse that around, and you might or may not be able to see the text on there, so let me read it. See, domestic abuse against women. We must protect women. Just believe women. Yes. Yes. And see, that mental destruction tactic that quite a number of feminist type deranged women, Sisterhood of Chaos type membership women, and some various other people, and unfortunately, even some pro-woman type males who are very deadly against reality thinking males, right? Are very problematic within various parts of society. So the thing about it is, before I start and show you a few different things on this, let me open up with this particular quick clip. I don't recall how long it's been, but it's definitely not something that was recently done. And keep this in mind since we talk about violence against men, right? And by numbers of violent type women and some other abusive behavior by various types of women and things like that, non-physical version too. Take a look at this video.
I bought you a little present.
You did? Well, where is it, honey?
Here, dear. I bought you a little present.
You did? Well, where is it, honey?
Here, dear. Little man, I've had a busy day. I bought you a little present.
You did? Well, where is it, honey?
Here, dear.
Now imagine if that was an unfunny clip. And should we say, what if that was a quick clip and that was a man that bopped a woman on the head and this guy was a stay-at-home dad? Oh, I know you got some people that act like there's no such thing as stay-at-home dads, right? Oh, that's a whole different topic in itself. But say the woman comes home and the guy's a stay-at-home dad, and he's been taking care of the kids, and he sits there and bops her on top of her head. And he says, "Look, dear, I've had a long day." But he still bops on the head. Oh, man, that whole, whoever created that video would have been canceled. But anything dealing with the violence against males, it's looked at as giggle, giggle, as you see on this image. He deserved it, giggle. But the minute, if you change the dynamic, right? See domestic abuse against women. We must protect women. Just believe women. Oh, they got a problem with this. Oh, you got all kind of different pro organization or pro women organizations, many types of domestic abuse entities, facilities, should we say? Oh, it would have been uproar. Various types of pro women males, right? A pro women type of gullible males. They went crazy. But the minute you sit there and show something like this, the woman being a domestic abuser, right? Violent, cretin, and she kicks this man, boyfriend, husband, whatever it is, off this cliff because I guess he didn't do what she wanted him to do, right? He deserved it, giggle. This, well, he must have did something. The hypocrisy is very real. So let me go ahead and share my screen on this part. I'm just going to kind of go over a few different things. Today is November the 7th, 2025. So let me go ahead and start with, which one first start? I'll start with this first. Just get a kind of brief synopsis of this situation. Make sure you can see this. Make sure my mute is off. Okay. Make sure you can. All right. Good, good. Now, as you see, Violence Against Women Act. I'm not going to read this whole thing because I got a couple of different things I want to show. The Violence Against Women Act of 1994, VAWA, is a United States federal law, Title 4, keep that in mind, of the Violent Crime Control and Law Enforcement Act, HR 3355, signed by President Bill Clinton on September 13, 1994. It is 2025, so this is over a generation ago. The act provided $1.6 billion. Let me read this again. The act provided $1.6 billion toward investigation and a prosecution of violent crimes against women. Oh, to heck with the males in the 90s who were getting abused by their wives and girlfriends and however others. Oh, forget the males who've been abused. And unfortunately, quite enough males took the nonsense, took the minimizing. And a generation later, 2025, you still have a non-small percentage of males within Americanism and going to different countries that are accepting this one-sided archaic trope and acting as if it's only basically males that are committing domestic violence against women. And there are some pro-woman males that are just as gullible and getting used every day. Impose automatic and mandatory restitution on those convicted and allow civil redress when prosecutors choose not to prosecute cases. The act also established the Office of Violence Against Women within this particular department. Let me read this again. The act also established the Office on Violence Against Women within this particular big-time entity. Now, isn't it interesting? Half a second sidetracking. The most hated group in America is the American blacks. And I'm not talking about numbers of the gullible ones and naive ones, right? And some of the deflectors, right? That because they're suffering from so much internal black pain, right? The number one hated group in America for centuries is an American black, right? The number one most scapegoated group in America is the American black. Now, other types of groups flee, go on programs, Harvard public assistance, taxpayers free money, whatever the list goes on, right? They have immigration entity organizations getting taxpayer funded money, helping immigration people out, etc. I mean, the list goes on. Numbers of border break illegal immigrants getting free resources left and right. Numbers of border break illegal immigrant pregnancy type women getting free neonatal care, free pregnancy care, right? The list goes on. But again, the number one group that's most hated in America by crime stats, hate crimes, should we say, is against American blacks. But people can't find no resources to sit there and have for reparations. You have barely no percentage of political personnel talking about what they're going to do about anti-American hate crime, anti-black hate crime law. This system is brilliant. So it said the bill was introduced by Harvard personnel in 1994 and gained support from a broad coalition of advocacy groups. The act passed through both houses of the U.S. Congress with bipartisan support in 1994. There's only a few more things on here I want to show. Let's see here. I want to see that here. By the way, the World Conference on Human Rights held in Vienna, Austria in 1993, and the Declaration on the Elimination of Violence Against Women in the same year concluded that civil society and governments have acknowledged that domestic violence is a public health policy and human rights concern. In the United States, according to the National Intimate Partner Sexual Violence Survey of 2010, 1 in 6 women suffer some kind of sexual violence induced by the intimate partner during the course of their lives. I get tired of numbers of males keep falling for these pseudo little white lie tactic statistics. I've looked at that 2010 also partner, the National Intimate Partner Sexual Violence Survey of 2010, and still overall it's talking about regardless, it's males that collectively get a gigantically over time, or should we say lifetime, of domestic abuse by women. Because domestic abuse is not just sitting there slapping. This is where they keep getting numbers of people. It ain't just slapping. Let me see here. I think it was something else. Oh, these are some of the many grants authorized in the Violence Against Women Act have been funded by the U.S. Congress. The following grant programs, which are administered primarily through the Office of Violence Against Women and the U.S. you see this entity, have received appropriations from Congress. But again, you say, hey, where's all these various male political figures? Where's all these organizations at? They say, what about men that get have violence put upon them every day by violent women? It has been statistically proven, people don't let people play this little stupid game. And unfortunately, there is quite a number of males who have been jackwad in their mentality. And anyway, going all that, when I've heard someone repeat to some of the same little silly little white lie statistics, and I have to kind of school them on reality, right? And say those statistics have been skewed, right? Because it has been proven, and going back for however many years, that numbers of women are just as likely in other instances or even more violent toward males. And there's just not enough males to know the game on that, what they're doing. Stop grants, transitional housing grants, grants to encourage arrest and enforce protection orders. Not toward men. I mean, not toward women, by the way, collectively. National Tribal Sex Offender Registry, which is again, look at tribalness. We're going to pretend that there's no women on numbers of tribal lands who have not been abusive, who have not sit there took the life of numbers of some personnel on tribal lands. I've done the shows on that. federal victims assistance. Oh, boy, we're not talking about males that are victims by at the hands of violent women. Sexual assault services program grants. Oh, but as long as it's not toward males, right? As if we're gonna pretend that there's no such thing as sexual assault, right, by women toward males. We're just gonna pretend that don't happen. We think that's funny, right? Engaging men and youth in prevention. This is a big one. So you got Harvard grants, be it they still going on, however it goes. Engaging men and youth in prevention. Basically sitting there lambasting men. Oh my goodness, what are you gonna do to protect women? You need to talk to the men about not being violent. You see how this insulting us. And they know it's not enough men that know these little disgusting tactics. They know it's certainly not a collective amount, not even a half a piece of male political figures, right? That are talking about, hey, hold on, this is not right. There are numbers of males that are getting beat down, violated every day by numbers of women. But there are some scary type of males in how political arenas that they're controlled by numbers of women. Because if you had half of politicalness by maleness, and they were on point with their thought pattern and use logical analysis, not feeling analysis, they'd be like, wait a minute now, we're not going to sit there and be bogarted by pro-women organizations. We're not going to be bogarted and shamed to sit there and bow down to feminist, deranged type personnel. No, we're going to talk about males that sit there and get domestic abuse every day. Right? By wives, by girlfriends, etc. We're going to talk about that. And we want equality in numbers of resources. Nope. You don't have enough males and political figures to talk like that. And the system knows it. Now, related to that particular part, let me show you something here for a second. Oh, this is various types of new provisions in the reauthorization that they've done several times. 2013, prior to 2013 passing of the VAWA, Native American women who were the victims of non-Native American assault were not covered by the law. And so that was a case from 1978 was overturned by provisions added to the new VAWA 2013, which also makes it possible for non-Native Americans to be prosecuted and tribal courts for domestic or dating violence perpetrated against Native Americans. And interesting, what about, again, numbers of Native American women who sit there and domestically abuse non-Native American? What about Native American women who assault, slap, kick, punch, spit, whatever it is, throw things at, say, for instance, they have a non-Native American husband or boyfriend? What about that? No. Protections of same-sex couples. No, what I'm telling you, the game is tough, boy. The game is tough. L, G-ness, B-ness, T-ness, Q. People experience domestic abuse at the same 25 to 33% rate as other members of the community. You got to watch this bull. It has been statistically proved. Stop allowing people to manipulate stuff like this. No, within the lesbianness has engaged, but specifically lesbians has some of the highest rates of domestic abuse compared to compared to the heterosexualness ones. Oh, they don't want to talk about that, right? But VAWA 2013 develops programs and laws to protect the rights of L-ness, G-ness, B-ness, Q-ness people who have been victims of IPV, intimate partner violence on that situation, right? But now don't worry about the sit there again, Pacific programs and laws specifically to protect men from violence against numbers of women, right? And intimate partner violence. Oh, we ain't worry about all that. This is embarrassing, man. It's like, dang, man, we're going to have more males to stand up and stop being scared. This is ridiculous. And what about the young males that are coming up and stuff like that? In this hostile, misandry type of environment. I didn't say misogyny, I said misandry. for people who know all and know, people don't know, misogyny, which is not brought up enough, is basically anti-male by numbers of women. So how many young males are being abused in high school by girls? How many young boys in middle school are being abused by little girls, right? That their mama emasculates, say they got a son, she emasculates them right in the house. And the little girl picks up on that violent behavior or non-physical violent behavior. And she grows up thinking that is okay. Huh? Where's the protection for that? Nope. I want to let me see here. Oh, it's something else. Because remember, I was talking about the male part. Here we go. Now, I was talking about the male part. Hold on, let me get this right here. Coverage of male. Hold on. Coverage of male victims. Because there are some people, there are some males that are extremely naive that think that Violence Against Women Act, because I know I'm going all that they think that, oh, well, it's covered some male. No, it doesn't. Stop allowing people to play dumb games. And some males need to be quiet when they don't know. There are some little naive males that think actually that there is protections for males, and it's not. The majority of domestic abuse facilities do not give a dang about male victims of domestic abuse by domestic assault to women. They don't care. And if I remember, fine. If I don't, I don't. I will go into chat GBT and ask that kind of question on that situation. But it don't take somebody, but call the National Domestic Abuse Hotline type people and ask them. Call those various types of domestic abuse facilities and ask them how much resources, how much of the facility is for male victims. Watch how the embarrassing answer would be. Now that's out the way. But again, he deserved it when it's violence against the male, right? Giggle, giggle. But if it's reversed, see, domestic abuse against women, we must protect women, just believe women. And again, the system is sitting back laughing at this, right? Now watch this, because you'll have some little feminist, little demonic cretin, little personnel, because they are programmed by feminist organizations, feminist various type colleges. The list goes on, right? They are taught to sit there and be manipulative, conniving, deflecting. And it ain't for males to be arguing with those little demonic, inhuman beings like that. Now, if it's beneficial for some of these people on social media to be doing that, then that's on them. If it's beneficial, but 99.899%, it's not beneficial. Because you ain't gonna outthink you're not gonna outthink a feminist. Her mentality is locked on misogyny. No, for Black American males, you ain't gonna outthink. You're not gonna try to outrun the thought pattern of the Sister of Chaos members. You ain't gonna do it. They outthink Black males about 8 or 9 times to 1. The majority of divorces are done by what? Women, including Black American within relationships. So the Sister of Chaos, we're not talking about, the male was cheating. Please, man, it's been shown how many times that women, regardless, be it women within the predominant culture, be it Sister of Chaos, they flirt way beyond more than the males. It's been proven it's not enough, 1,000 times. No, not at all. It's been proven enough times, but not enough times, right, that women are more sexual in experiences, have a more high body count than males. There are more virgin males than women. More than half of the women out there are sexually active. There are less than 50% of males. Should I say, there's more than 50% of males in America that are still virgins. So you see how this tactic goes, right? More women are sexually active than males. More women sit there and are more flirtatious to other males. But at the same time, males are blamed for all kind of stuff out of here with that game, right? Yes. Now, what they would do, some of the numbers of feminists or predominant feminists and the sister of chaos members and some other cultures and various backgrounds, ethnicities, etc., who want to be like certain women within the predominant culture. Oh, it's a whole different topic. Oh, there's quite a number of women from some various cultures and backgrounds in America who want to be like numbers of women within the predominant culture who they look at as their gods, or goddesses, should I say. Now, again, I'm not talking about the small number within women within predominant culture who may not act like a collective. So we're not going to play that tactic, because regardless what numbers of feminists, what numbers of the sister of cast members would do, they'll say, well, it's not all women. I'm like this. Go to Hades with that tactic. Go to Hades with that tactic. I'm not playing that. That stuff succeeds upon other males who don't know those games on that, which is quite a lot, by the way. This is why the continuation of the domestic abuseness toward males is minimized. This is why you have quite a number of male political figures that are very scared to sit there and stand up and say, enough of this one-sided Violence Against Women Act. We need to have equality, right? There are many males that are victims. And by the way, there has to be more male victims. They have to sit there and contact their political representatives. And if they're not acting right, they need to sit there and get with hire people on social media, call to how these radio stations, call to these TV stations, and start shaming them. And start making them get some super act right. Because if there's not, and by the way, some churches too need to start getting with the program and start getting if you got some programs out there, fine. If they don't, then these churches and however other religious organizations that need to sit there and make sure to start talking to those male congregants and say, hey, we got a special person here in church, or it might be a very small church. It don't matter if big church, whatever it is, to sit there and make sure that the pastor or however religional figures and whatever religion sit there and ask the question, if we have any male victims of domestic abuse, by all means, come and talk to the pastor or come and talk to however personnel, whatever it is. Those things have to happen. It has to happen on this, right? So let me go ahead and share my screen again. What's the other one? Oh, let me actually show you this is one of the actual laws that was passed on the overall. We were talking about the Violence and Control Act of 1994, where about the Violence Against Women Act was within that act, right? As you see already here, HR 3355, 103rd Congress of the United States of America, at the second session, begun and held at the city of Washington on Tuesday, the 25th day of January, 1994. Okay. Be enacted by the Senate and House of Representatives of the United States of America and Congress assembled. Short title, this act may be cited as the Violence, Crime Control, and Law Enforcement Act of 1994. So let me go ahead and get to that section, which is on section 4 on this. The Violence and Control Act has many types of sections in there, but we go into the part about the women part. As you see this right here. Let me get back on here. One moment. Get to the right part. Went too far back. Let me get this right. Give me a second here. All right, we go. As you see right here. Oh. I ain't right there. Now, let me make sure you can see that. Okay. You know, hold on. Let me get one thing off here for a second. Let me finish this. Hold on. I want to get that right first. Now, this is very important here. Title 4. Let me make sure my mute is off. Okay. Title 4, Violence Against Women. Violence Against Women. Right, Act, right? Subtitle A, Safe Streets for Women. Where did it say anything about males? None. Federal penalties for sex crimes on this. Law enforcement and prosecution grants, that's taxpayers' money, to reduce violent crimes against women. Let me read this again. Law enforcement and prosecution grants, that's taxpayer money, to reduce violent crimes against women. Nothing about males, because this society overall does not give a care about men, let alone domestic abuse victims, right? Being men by domestic abuse assaulters, women. The system does not care, because the system knows it's not enough males who are tired of the one-sided, demonic, absurdness of cretanness, of the disrespect, of the minimizing of the victims that are males at the hands of domestic abuse assaulter women. And also, what about, I'm going to get on this a little bit, the various other sections of domestic abuse, non-physical, that definitely numbers of women lead in and being the instigators of the various other forms of domestic abuse toward males. And it's still minimized. More males about to stop tolerating this stuff and start truly standing up to this stuff. Now, some males ain't gonna give a care. That's fine, until it happens to them, right? And there are some ones, or some other family members, or however it goes, men. Here's the crazy part about it: there are males out here who are domestic abuse victims, and because they have a low self-confidence, they may think they have a super confidence, but there are quite a number of multi-millions of males who have an extreme self-confidence problem. And there are numbers of males who are domestic abuse, who are domestically abused every day in relationships, and they don't think they're victims. You see the crazy part of this? That's some psychological damage that the system has done. And they have downtrodden quite a number of millions of types of males' mentalities. Again, law enforcement and prosecution grants to reduce violent crimes against women. They make it very clear what who they are about. Grants to combat violent crimes against women. Safety for women in public transit and public parks. Yeah, don't worry about it. We know there's no such thing as women slapping, kicking, punching, spitting on males in public parks or public transit. We know that don't happen. Assistance to victims of sexual assault. Again, we're going to pretend that males are not victims of sexual assault by numbers of women. And let's not even get it started on the boys that are victims now by some very bad teacher version of women. The one this applies to. Man, there are so many uncalculable number of stories of numbers of women teachers. The one this applies to, who are sitting there and sexual assault these little boys. They have RAPED, robbed these little boys, right? And you got people that want to minimize that. But let a male teacher do that to a young girl. Oh, you'll have males that want to sit there and castigate that male's testicles. But it's the other way around. Watch how many males get very docile. Oh, so it's okay for certain numbers of women teachers to rob little boys, to sexual assault little boys, that's okay? God. This system has really messed up millions of males' mentalities, with few exceptions in that too. Safe home for women in the National Domestic Violence Hotline. Let me see here. Rural domestic violence and child abuse enforcement. Oh, and how many abuses happen in rural parts, in various parts of America? None black. Oh, there's quite a number of people within various parts of Panama's culture who domestically abuse each other in various rural places. They don't talk about that. See, that's that white on white criminality that people want to be quiet on as well. Oh, that's a whole different topic in itself. Equal justice for women in the Courts Act. Violence Against Women Act improvements on that situation. Report on battered women syndrome. Well, we're gonna pretend there's no battered men syndrome. See how that goes, right? Oh, and this is a sidetrack one for a second. That's happening more and more too, relating to illegal immigration type situations. Right here. Let me go back here. Dang. All right. Protections for battered immigrant women and children. Oh, that's a whole different type of disgusting demonic game. Because again, they'll tell you, well, what about the ones who are actual victims? We're not playing that. We're not talking about that. So go to with that tactic. We're talking about the number of border breaker, illegal immigrant type women who sit there and are married to, or say a relationship with say if this is a situation, American male, right? And she really don't want to be, say that male got a visa for her to come over here, some kind of fiance visa program, or she's already over here already. Say one as a border breaker, or say for instance they do have some kind of legalness of immigration status, but they're trying to sit there and get that even faster, to get that green card even quicker on some other different ways, or more of a faster path, should we say, right? To get, especially to get regular citizenship. So how many women, I've done a show on this before. I've done a podcast show on this where you got Harvard numbers. You couldn't even count that high of the number of border breaker, illegal immigrant women who have lied on their husbands, boyfriends, etc., saying that they've been battered down. And it was like they didn't do it. And it don't matter. There's no court going through. There's no proof, whatever it is, overall, right? But as long as she make an accusation that he did this to her, then they'll sit there and fast track her to a green card citizenship, right? Let alone, say for instance, they can have some legalities, but say it's about to expire, and how many of them lie to sit there and try to hurry up and get a more of an extension for the green card, but they don't want to be with that husband or don't want to be with that boyfriend, etc. Oh, the game is tough on that too, right? Protections for battered immigrant women and children. Alien petitioning rights for immediate relative or second preference status. Use of credible evidence and spousal waiver applications. Right. Suspension of deportation. See that right there? Suspension of deportation. So how many women have sat there, made up border breaker, legal immigrant numbers of women, certain numbers of immigration women, right? Say for instance, some situation happened where they were about to be deported and they claimed what? Domestic abuse. By whom? Oh, if they had a boyfriend before and he threw him out the house, or some situation happened where she was staying with the husband and situation happened and he abused her, whatever it is. But at the same time, she was cheating on him, right? She was abusing him, right? He said, no, you can't be around here. You can't be with me abusing me like this, right? And then she called Howard enforcement people and claimed that, she was being abused because she was about to be deported. Oh, the game is tight. The game is tight if you don't know the games, right? Yes, the game is tight. Look at this again. If a man did this, right, he deserved it. Or should we say this picture? He deserved it. The woman kicks him off the cliff, right? What did he do wrong? She says, giggle, giggle. But if the man does this, see domestic abuse against women, we must protect women. Just believe women. Watch this for a second.
No forgiveness is necessary. We are grateful for your help, Wonder Woman. An entire Earth led by Amazons. How wonderful. Our planet. An entire Earth led by Amazons. How wonderful. Our planet, Themyscira, is a rare pearl. The shadows flee at intensely bright light. Is there sufficient electricity nearby to... When we threw off male oppression, we discarded the infernal wheel of technology as... Sufficient electricity nearby to... When we threw off male oppression, we discarded the infernal wheel of technology as well. They did not agree with our ways. Our old men, they live still, controlled. They serve us. Our old men, they live still, controlled. They serve us. It's better than they deserve.
Does it not? This continues to be so clear. And again, you have someone to be some warped feminists, some accessory feminists, some Sister of Chaos members, and some fence playing either way type women who go which way the fence goes, right? They'll be like, well, it's not all women. Go to Hades with that game. It's logical sense that there's not going to be all women that are domestic abuse assaulters. Go to with that game. We're talking about the ones who do it, which is not going to be a small amount. But again, they keep playing this little tactic, right? So I think let me sit there and share my screen. This, I think there's one last one relating to this particular part. Oh, yeah, this is a reauthorization, one of the last ones in 2022. Violence Against Women Act, VAWA reauthorization, right? I'm not going to go into all that because it just talks about how the Violence Against Women Act was originally enacted in 1994 as Title IV of the Violent Crime Control and Law Enforcement Act of 1994, which we've already talked about it already. But I want to go over this right quick. Categories of crime addressed in VAWA. The crimes generally addressed under Violence Against Women Act, sometimes referred to as Violence Against Women Act related offenses, are domestic violence, sexual assault, dating violence, and stalking. And by the way, more women stalk than males. You don't talk about that. Although some VAWA programs address additional crimes, the Violence Against Women Reauthorization, the Violence Against Women Reauthorization Act of 2013 amended VAWA grant purposes area to include sex trafficking. That's a whole different thing in itself. Oh, by the way, let me just go in there for half a second. See, it ain't sex, human trafficking is not just sex trafficking. You also have labor trafficking as well, by the way. And men are the number one most trafficked personnel in labor. Let me say this again. Men are the most, and boys are the number one most trafficked labor type personnel. Men and boys. But when you say human trafficking, they automatically try to go to sex trafficking, sex trafficking, right? And then they'll portray this women or portray a girl, and that's it. Oh, but by the way, they don't sit there and tell you, well, there is a high number of males and boys that are sex trafficked it. There's a situation, I won't go in detail, but there is a documentary, I'm not going to, I can't spell it correctly, but it's called Bajibati. I can't pronounce it, but a few years ago in a certain country, should we say in a certain Middle Eastern, should we say, Bajibati. and Howard, some other places where they're not really trying to, and they are not, because they're should we say their testicles will probably be cut off too, and other things, they probably be juked to death too, right? If they even, RAPED, a girl, an underage girl, oh, there will be consequences for that. So in these various countries, they'll sit there and dress up a little boy to look like a girl. And even some males. See, males have been RAPED in some places, various places, over in certain places, right? But they don't talk about that. What about the number of men in America that have gotten RAPED? Oh, we don't talk about that, huh? See, this system wants more males to be emasculated. This system wants more males to sit there and change their identity to women. And they have no problem with males, some numbers of males, RAPED numbers of other males. They don't have a problem with numbers of males being sexual assaulted by other males. Oh, they want more of that. They don't have a problem with little boys being sexual assaulted by some males. Oh, they want more of that, because that messes up quite a number of males' mentalities. Oh, this system is wicked. It's a wicked system. So it's talking about some of the other, some of the categories of crime addressing VAWA on that situation. We was talking about domestic violence. We talked about that already. Physical abuseness, hitting, slapping, shoving, grabbing, pinching, biting, hair pulling, all types of physical abuse. Let's read this again. Physical abuseness, hitting, slapping. Women slap more than males. Women slap more than males. Or should we say women are more slappish to male faces than the other way around. You see how that goes, but they don't want to talk about that. Shoving, certainly more numbers of women shove males than vice versa. I did a show about Sha'Carri, domestic violence, domestic abusing Richardson, world track star. Right? Go look it up if people don't know. I did a show on that, 2 shows on that. A couple of months ago, she was at the Seattle Washington Airport, and what, unfortunately, with her simpleton, gullible, naive type of, he's a world-class track star himself, gullible Christian Coleman, and they were in the Seattle airport, all these people and all these cameras in the airport, and they show her, she's like 5 foot, barely 5 foot something, right? He's close to 6 feet, in shape, strong. She looked extreme petite little and everything, and she was pushing him inside the airport, pushing him so hard that he lost his balance. She pushed him to the wall, then pushed him so hard it was out, almost like out of scream, where like she pushed him on the ground. When he got back up, right, being emasculated, she shoves him in the face, pushes him again. She did that several times, and nobody at the airport, nobody say, stop doing that. Nobody stopped her. So she domestically abused, Sha'Carri Richardson domestically abused Christian Coleman. Like nothing. They were in a relationship. That's domestic abuse, people. That's intimate partner violence that she committed. And you know what happened? She was allowed. There was a world championship that was happening in Tokyo, I think a couple of months or so later, and she was allowed to participate. Let that have been a male who did that. Let Christian Coleman have domestic abuse Sha'Carri Richardson. Oh my goodness, what would have happened to him? He'd have been super canceled, and if he had any type of sponsorship, they'd have canceled him. But you don't hear any. Today is November the 7th, 2025. And Sha'Carri Richardson still has high sponsors. Sha'Carri Richardson is still not canceled. This shows the blatant embarrassment of the dwindling type of strong maleness in America. Oh, it's dwindling fast. This type of abuse, excuse me, let me go back. So at the grabbing, women surely grab men faster than vice versa. Pinching, biting, hair pulling, etc. are types of physical abuse. This type of abuse also includes denying a partner medical care or forcing alcohol. I'm going all that. Sexual abuse, emotional abuse. Here we go again, like not non-physical. Numbers of women are the most emotionally abusing than males. Most males are very simple in relationships. They're mostly simple, right? They're not trying to outthink a one relationship. They don't want to try to outthink her what she's trying to do, whatever it is. Many of them just want some decent peacefulness in a relationship. But many males also settle. Many males settle. For various women, they shouldn't even be settling for. Many males sit there and continually be emasculated in relationships. I have personally observed high numbers of males being emasculated by their girlfriends or husbands. I've personally seen it many times, and I'm shaking my mentality like this is messed up. And they were sitting there just taking it, the emasculation. Emotional abuse, undermining an individual's sense of self-worth and our self-esteem is abusiveness. This may include, but is not limited to, constant criticism, diminishing one's abilities, name calling, or damaging one's relationship with his or her children. Parental alienation, externally or internally, is a form of emotional abuse. Numbers of women are gigantic in relationships who will parentally alienate their children from the father. And there's more and more single fathers, but we don't want to talk about that part, do we? We don't want to talk about many more stay-at-home dads. Oh, but how many of them are called lazy? And you just sitting there just taking from your woman who's working hard. But when the woman wants to stay at home, take care of the kids, is you go, girl. You're a mother, right? That man works long hours of 2 jobs or 3 jobs, or whatever. He got the business, he's working long hours. Whatever he's doing, that's what he's supposed to do. But when a woman goes out there and does a job or has her businesses, that she's at doing home stuff, wherever it is, right? She can have the best of both worlds when she wants. If she wants to be out in the workforce, you go, girl, right? But that man better be working too, right? But if that man's a stay-at-home dad, he's a lazy thing. He's a bum. What happened to equality? And how many times you got numbers of women that sit there and control males that are at home? Oh, it's quite a number of them. Oh, but we don't talk about that. Let alone, again, emotional abuseness. Oh my goodness, when she feels that she makes more money than him. Oh, and she name calls him. Maybe he has a job that she feels that is below her, because she's trying to stay up the statuses. That's emotional abuse, people. Call them all kind of names, with numbers of women do on a daily basis to their husbands, boyfriends. That's emotional abuse, people. Economic abuse, controlling or restraining a person's ability to acquire, use, or maintain economic resources to which they are entitled. This includes using coercion, fraud, or manipulation to restrict that person's access to money, access, credit, or financial information. So you got people that love trying to play switch around games, say, oh my goodness, well, women need to be trying to work, because if they're just stay at home moms, wherever it is, Oh my goodness. Well, what happens when the man tries to leave? He leaves her. She's broke. Please. The majority of women divorce males, people. And if he has a decent job, he's going to be Godzilla divorced. If they have kids, he's going to be King Kong child supported. They don't keep talking about that. They keep trying to play this little game of, well, what about, if she's a stay-at-home mom and the guy decides to leave? Please. The majority of males ain't thinking about leaving their wives that are stay-at-home moms. Go to Hades with that tactic, especially when the guy has a decent type of resources. Because the woman or women know it, because she's already planning what she's going to do if he tries to divorce her one day. What you like? It's crazy because what is it? 75, 80% depending of the divorces are done by women. And how many women get what? 50% and more of the resources from males, right? For child support, right? And alimony. These games, boy. Psychological abuse. Technological abuse. Was there anything else I wanted to show on here? Maybe, maybe not. Let me see here. Let me see if there's anything else I want to show. Wait a minute. Change it to, hold on. I talked about that already. Wait a minute. What's this? No, that was all on that part. So I just want to go on that last part, which shows again the 2022 Violence Against Women Act, VAWA reauthorization on that. And I think the last thing I want to show not real fast, is that the thing of it is, you know what? Let me just sit there and show it right quick first. And then I was going to call it a day on this part. This is the right here. Let me make sure you can see this part. Hold on, you can see this. Oh, sorry, sometimes this thing be going. What's wrong with this thing? Give me a second here. Give me one moment here. Sometimes my system acts a little silly. Sometime. So let me re-share my screen right here. And make sure you can see that. Okay, my mute is off. Let me make sure. Now, the Violence Against Women Act has been reauthorized to include and protect illness, genus, Venus, Tenus, Q+, talked about a little bit earlier, individuals from violence. This expansion notably included in the 2013 and subsequent reauthorization prohibits discrimination based on sexual orientation, gender identity, and federal funded services, and creates programs specifically for illness, genus, Venus, Tenus, Qnus plus survivors. But again, the number one group in America who has the most hate crime put upon them is Black Americans. Not cosplaying black skinned ones who have fled. We're not talking about those kind of versions. We're not talking about some of the good ones. We're talking about the fleers, which is going to be the overallness amount. And the ones that got on programs and fled still and get taxpayers' money, right? And benefiting off of people who have been here or set this country up like Black Americans, right? Who experienced centuries of black pain. It's disgusting how you got people, they're a benefit off what Black Americans have had to go through and still going through. And again, I'm not talking about some of the gullible and some sellouts and some naive ones within certain parts of American Blackism. Because American Blacks collectively are looked at as a group to just scapegoat. American Blacks are looked at as someone you can just play games with all the time. Even like in relationships. Let me say this real quickly. It is tiresome. How many times have there been Black American males that have jumped real fast when they saw a woman get into altercation with a male, and they automatically assume the male was wrong? And yes, by the physicalness, the guy's going to be able to have more harmonies put upon the woman. And that's the old tired game that they always use. And the majority of males are not beating down women. But how many women out there are sitting there slapping, kicking, punching, throwing dishes, throwing stuff at males? That's domestic abuse, people. Call them all kind of names, emotionally emasculating him. That's emotional abuse, people. That numbers of women every day are doing this in America and some other places, by the way, toward males. I'll make this point again. I get tired that numbers of males, the ones applies to being gullible, that and also have lost their lives seeing this woman get into altercation with a man, not knowing what's happening, and he jumps in, he gets juked to unalivement. Or pop to unalivement. Every day there are some males out there that have got juked to unalivement, or juked to be put in a hospital, or pop to put in a hospital unalive. Trying to be, I must say, trying to be a lieutenant, save a woman. Yes, these lieutenant save a woman guys out there haven't got their thick skull. Stop jumping into issues that you don't know nothing about. Stop jumping into a relationship. Stop jumping into situations that you see some man and woman get to altercation that you know nothing about. And there are some hard-headed freaking males that still don't get it. Well, what if that's somebody's mom? God, the naiveness of that old trope. Tell that to the numbers of males out there who have lost their lives and being naive about that. Tell it to the number of guys who are being juked to unalivement, or pop to unalivement. Huh? There are certain variables that you do see a woman, she's getting jumped on by a male. Yes, there are certain variables, but those are going to be small numbers. How many times have males been juked to unalivement, or should we say juked to, or pop, put in a hospital, right? Or jumped on the man, right? They fight wherever it is, and he ends up going to jail. And she's out there continuing with her life, and she's still having sex or whatever male or males out there. This happens every day. Every day. Let alone, people, let me make this very clear, especially when numbers of males are in various other countries. Do not sit there and jump to conclusions. When you sit there and if you see a woman get into altercation with a male, stay out of that. Now, there are numbers of males who saying, I ain't get to that. Credit get to the ones that using logic. You in another, especially if in another country, a foreign country, right, where you don't have basically rights. In these countries like that, being a foreigner, people have more rights in America as a foreigner than black males have in another country like that. Because you better not, as a black male, break any kind of laws, indirectly or directly. You better not do it. But you got numbers of personnel that have break immigration laws in America, commit crimes left and right in America, the ones supposed to scam various parts of America, and however many are still not deported. Don't let people play this little game of, oh my goodness, well, you see these people going crazy being deported. It ain't enough of them getting deported like that. Stop. And many of them can't stand black Americans in the first place, but they want to use black Americans to sit there and help border break illegal immigrants and immigration people. Don't you let, it's a whole different topic. I'm just saying, I hope more males, overall, not going to happen, but hopefully slightly more males would get it through some skulls. You do not jump into an altercation between when you sit there and see a man and a woman get into that. Now, if you're looking around and you observe different things because you know who's out there looking in a foreign country, Even in America, you don't know who's out there looking around. If between the altercation between the man and woman, you don't even know how many males just sit there and think they're again lieutenant save a woman, and again they've been juked to unalivement or pop to unalivement or injured, right? Right, and whatever charge is being pressed against them, right, for whatever reason, situation happened, and they end up going to jail. And again, their wife or girlfriend or somebody met, whatever it is, they continue to be having fun without that man. And how many times have women jumped on the male for trying to sit there and help her? And again, I'm not talking about the small amount of exceptions that, yes, it is okay to sit there and try to help out certain women. That is a small percentage. Overall, women don't need males. And how many times the same type of women that these males have tried to do lieutenant save a woman hate males? God. And just be using males in relationships. So finishing up, I'll make this point about this illness, genius, Venus, Venus, Q plus, however, being put within higher reauthorization of the Violence Against Women Act. But at the same time, people can find resources and everything else for so many different other backgrounds and alternative lifestyle categories. But when it concerns, when it's about reparations for Black Americans, I'm not talking about silly ones and gullible ones, naive ones, deflectors, right? Who don't even know they're being used themselves by the system. But Black Americans can't get no reparations for being the number one group of scapegoated people in America, for being the number one most hated group by crime stats, number one most hated group by crime stats, and still don't get no anti hatred law for Black Americans. I mean, you know, this system has messed up quite a number of Black Americans by the millions, with few exceptions. Because Black Americans are notorious for helping other cultures out first before helping Black Americans out first. But here it is. You got provisions to help out elders, genus, Venus, Tenus, Q plus individuals have equal access to vital resources like shelters, legal aid, and other support programs for victims of domestic violence, dating violence, sexual assault, and stalking. Key provisions of illness, genus, Venus, Tenus, Q plus individuals, non-discrimination, federal grants and services funded by VAWA are prohibited from discriminating against survivors based on a sexual orientation or gender identity. How many domestic abuse facilities, organizations discriminate against males? Indirectly or directly? Huh? Equal access. The law ensures that illness, genus, Venus, illness, genus, Venus, Tenus, Q plus victims have equal access to programs and services, including shelters and legal assistance. The insultings of this. But gigantically, the collective amount of domestic abuse shelters are not thinking about having a piece of equality access for men, for heterosexual men. But at the same time, equal access for illness, genus, Venus, illness, genus, Venus, Tenus, Q plus victims have equal access to programs and services, including shelters and legal assistance. But men overall are out on their own, basically. This is an insult. Pacific Services, the most recent reauthorizations include new funding for programs specifically designed to serve the unique needs for the illness, genus, Venus, Tenus, Qnus plus community. So they found including new funding for programs specifically to help and serve illness, genus, Venus, Tenus, Qnus plus community. But we used to talk about what are we going to do for equal shelters and equal funding for men who are domestic abuse victims by numbers of women. You got all excuses going on. When 9,000% of domestic abuse organizations, shelters are not talking about helping men. This is embarrassing. It is an embarrassment of how much dwindling of a sharp decline of reality standing up for the right thing of males is dwindling. And like I was talking about earlier too, immigration protection. VAWA allows Lness, Gness, Bness, TQ plus immigrants who are victims of abuse to petition for legal status without relying on their abuser. So now Lness, Gness, Bness, Lness, GBTQ plus immigrants who are victims, talking about women of abuse who are victims of abuse to petition for legal status without relying on their abuser. We're talking about 9,000% women. What did I just say? Use logical sense. If already, for the people who don't know, the males, some of the males who know that know, but there are small numbers. Overall, again, domestic abuse facilities, organizations don't want to have males. They're not set to want to receive male victims. Male victims are looked at as entertainment, disposable non-humans. Lastly, support for underserved communities. This such and such entity on violence against women specifically prioritize improving services and outreach. Watch this long, diluted, whatever this is sickening, embarrassing, insulting, slap in the face of heterosexual males and males in general, salivating. This is insulting, shall we say, also salivating in the faces of numbers of males. Lness, Gness, Bness, Tness, Q, whatever this is, I, 2S plus survivors and other underserved population. See, this is an insult to even millions of Black Americans. See, they play, it's like people of color, communities of color, marginalized communities, BIPOC, Black, Indigenous people of color. This is some bull. And unfortunately, there is millions within American Blackism that are naive to people consistently playing games against Black Americans, with small exceptions of Black Americans who see the game. Underserved populations, you see how that game, that's generically. But again, this system is brilliant because they say, hey, heck, you know what? Most males are very naive to what's going on around relating to the consistently domestic abuse, assaulters being women against men victims. There are numbers of males that have been so emasculated in relationships that they don't even realize that they have been, many of them have been emotionally abused, financially abused, mentally abused, and certainly physically abused. And they know many men are not going to say enough and start standing up to these abusive type women in various parts of society. They know it's not enough. They know it's not enough demanding of political figures to say enough of this one-sided Violence Against Women Act that now you are sitting there giving resources to Lness, Gness, Bness, Tness, Q plus, whatever that's supposed to mean, because there is Black, Lness, Gness, Bness, T. You get the point. But unfortunately, how many of them are naive? Because how many of them have experienced racial racism, hatred by numbers of ones within certain parts of plant-based culture and some other ones, right? How many? So the outpouring of disrespect and embarrassment toward Black Americans consistently happens every day, with few exceptions. So in closing, again, look at this image. He deserved it. She kicks him off, this particular woman within the plant-based culture, because how many of them are super passive aggressive neurotic beings? They do not want to be with They only want to be with certain males, be with the males within the predominant culture because of centuries old, archaic, ingrained social hierarchy, economic hierarchy, right? Legal hierarchy that's been instituted systematically to help out various ones within the predominant culture in some kind of way. Even the poorest of the poorest ones within the predominant culture, it doesn't matter. They still have a social benefit for nothing else. And if numbers of women within various parts of predominant culture, if they felt that there was really no benefit to be with certain numbers of males within the predominant culture, they would leave them so fast. But they understand that there's still a social benefit no matter what in America to be a certain one within the predominant culture, and they're not leaving. Or overall, I make this point because how many numbers of women within the predominant culture are domestic abusers of those males? As I said to you earlier, I've observed numbers of men being emotionally emasculated. I've seen numerous numbers of males like that. And I was shaking my mentally head thinking this is embarrassing to look at this, and they're not doing nothing to stand up for themselves. And again, they know, the system knows most political personnel, numbers of men, are not going to say enough of this one-sided, again, anti-male, non-equality, and the violence against women type of act. But they find ways to sit there and help fund L-ness, G-ness, B-ness, Q-ness, Q+, et cetera, to include them in the reauthorizations of the Violence Against Women Act. They make sure to include numbers of border break or legal immigrant numbers of women and certain type of immigration women who can lie if they don't want to be bothered and be in a relationship with that man and stuff like that, and say he didn't want to leave him, they don't want to be bothered with him, and say if they don't have a green card, they can sit there and lie and say he did this and did that, and they can be on a fast try to get a green card, or say they're about to be deported or something like that. They can sit there, make up a lie, say, oh, that man did this, did a relationship, and they can sit there and basically stay in legality and stay off the deportation list. The game is tough, the game is rough, but it's still brilliant because the system knows it's certainly not enough men in America. Oh, don't get it confused. Oh, it's going to other different countries, feminism more and stuff like that. And there's going to be more domestic abuseness toward numbers of males in some other countries. Oh, it's going to start happening more. As much feminism start infecting various other countries, it's going to happen. Well, what about the other countries? I'm not talking about those countries. The foolish response for the ones who act like that. We're talking about the ones it's happening more and more in other countries. I also feel very sorry for the youth males because they do not have enough strong fathers, and fathers not just a category. Not enough youth males don't have strong male figures to look upon and teach them how to stand and be a male in a society. Because being a real male has nothing to do with how much money you make. That is an archaic leave it to beaver, father knows best type of archaic trope that needs to be thrown into the trash can of the bad versions of history. Being a real man that has nothing to do with how many jobs you work. Being a real man has nothing to do with the titles, have nothing to do with that what kind of cars you drive. Certainly has nothing to do with how many women some males try to have. That is ridiculous. Because if you don't have no money, many of these women are going to disappear regardless, and they'll leave a man so fast. Real men, it's not about what kind of business you have. How many ain't got businesses out there and numbers of women still cheat, still lie, still emotionally abuse the male, still physically abuse the male? So it has nothing to do with being a real male. Real males standing up to say, look, that's wrong. Not just generically. Real males sit there and say, hey, no, they stand up and think reality. They stand up and do not sit there and ask for any kind of validation from their wives or girlfriends or society. A real man stands. He stands for within himself first. First. And he watches the people who are around him on that. He understands that anytime that there are other people in society, especially if the man is doing real good, many people are very jealous of that kind of male. If he's a stand-up type of male and he's still humble. I thank you for tuning in to the Real CP show.
I bought you a little present.
You did? Well, where is it, honey?
Here.